Okay, so looking at a little bit long-term future, we bring the crystal ball here and we try to understand what the future of automation and AI is. Uh, Specifically around, so if we stick to what we are discussing here, specifically around um, how do you see those systems evolving in the future so that they are autonomous, or they are, they have some self-healing capability, right? Because if we go back to what we are saying, it's great to innovate and to bring more technology, but then someone has to manage them, right? So how do you see the evolution here, where we are moving towards a place where the automation, the AI, the digital workforce is actually going to automate the enterprise, and also being able to automate itself, right? So it does not become a burden to manage.
Yeah, I mean the future of the future's coming very quickly. Everything in the past few years has moved much faster than what we've seen in the many years before. And so some of the things that are coming out again are with Gen AI, and you have these AI agents or even autonomous agents or the co-pilots and stuff that are out there. The way that teams and groups and enterprises can move interchangeably to document data, to add personas to actually some of these agents. So not only can a digital worker, like we've talked about in the past with automation, that digital worker can actually not only have legs and everything because of the efforts that are being done with automation, but it has the brains to know where it's going and what it's doing with Gen AI. So it's being enabled to drive these things. It has personas. It's going to start to understand roles. But again, if you don't have the analytics, if you don't have the insights to know what is and what is not going on, and you don't have really a way to almost predictively maintain that same data, not having that visibility of like the version control, not having the visibility of the things that are changing and potentially going around in your business without the audits, without the understanding, like where's my data, where's it at rest, where's it in motion, you're going to have massive issues. And so the goal there is that's the future where things are moving. We now have to look at it from a how do we help the enterprises? How do we help the large companies get to that point? And really, it goes back to start with what's been commoditized, start with the understanding that here is the way. We almost need to like write up a journey thing. Like here's the journey of where you should be going to get to the point where you need to get to. But it's that's the way is to utilize automation to build in that to get your insights of like what is your processes that are being enabled, how are you navigating that, how are you maintaining that, how are you orchestrating those works, and then overall like how do you build insights around it? Like are you doing the right things, the right patterns with the right information?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we're moving in a world where we're gonna have all this automation and AI, all those AI enabled software bots, whether they are at the level of the employee or at the level of the enterprise, at the core system level. And we're gonna have them all over the place, and it's going to be a very large amount of non-human employee, if I may call them like that, and we will have to manage them. We will have to get the visibility, understand what they do, understand when something wrong is happening, because this happened, and this will have to be controlled, right? So in context of all of that, how do you describe success then? I am a CIO. I'm running an IT team. I'm now responsible for this crazy amount of AI agents slash RPA bots all over the place doing all kind of things. Maybe a one employee, and you have one bot somewhere. How do you define success, right? What is important here?
Yeah, I mean, success always is revolves around the tools and the functions and the abilities that you have. So, you if you don't have certain abilities, you go get abilities, or if you don't have certain aspects that you can utilize, well, you find a way to either build it internally or you go buy it. And the aspect of so success in general in the realm in like the realm or the overall of automation, intelligent automation, and the direction is again, it's basically like having ways to define processes. So ideally, every company should have some kind of business process management. They should have some kind of BPM tool that is saying, where do our processes live? What are we seeing and in the space? making sure that our users are actually driving and putting information in there so we can see in one process is 5 different people doing it 5 different ways, or can we actually streamline that? And if we streamline that down and then see what that process is, can we then automate a large portion of that? Because it'll make it easier for the users or whatnot, because work is always out there. Companies grow 18 to 20% every year on good years, but in general, there's always going to be more work. So anything that can be automated and understood and normalized is going to be value. And so when you understand the processes and you automate those processes and you're driving, ROI, and then the next steps is, how do you maintain that? How do you control that? How do you know what you're doing? What's that dashboard look like to say, are we delivering? Or, at the same time, like, are we doing a one bot for every process? I hope not, because the idea there is there's a danger of, like, bots do cost money, like software costs money, things that you're utilizing cost, capital. And if you aren't utilizing it impactfully, if you don't have a bot utilization or understanding how many processes are running per process or per bot or per like item of these digital assistants, these digital workers that we're working with, then you may not be doing it right. So you need those gauges. You need that pendulum swing of, like, here's I'm doing it this way, and I have no information. And then as I grow, as I scale, as I get there, what information do I have? Do I have the insights? Can I orchestrate my information? Am I doing my analytics? Do I have the right licensing? Am I spending too much on licensing? Did I build this right? And a lot of people say, wow, that's too much, right? But this is a over time. This isn't like you buy it and then boom, you have it. No, it's a scaled approach to working with the users, to working with the employees, to drive that journey. Because not only are you just adding functionality, not only are you adding ROI, you're actually taking every employee, client, individual on the same journey and saying, hey, we're all doing this together. This is a digital transformation. This is how we move from very legacy and very understanding of things to moving a more digitally, world that we're moving into, where eventually it's going to be enabled by these new technologies like Gen AI and the futures of where those are going, so that we can all work on the same stuff, be better impacted. Eventually we're going to have it to where some of these agents are going to be able to do some of that documentation for us, because it'll have a way, shape, or form that it's actually understanding what that looks like. And I know people that are building that now, and it's looking amazing. So again, like, build from the beginning, start the journey, drive it through. That's your success criteria. Is like, once you know and you get to that middle point, you go, well, we have stuff and we know we're saving ROI. Really, I guess if you're going to simplify it to a simple term, and this is something I do because everybody has issues of saying, well, what is ROI? How are we doing it? There's still people, for whatever reason, still talking about FTEs. I wish they would stop. It scares people. That was 8 years ago, guys. Like, let's move on. Wait, talk to the hours saved, talk to the work being saved. We're not replacing people, we are enabling people. And by doing so, that's the goal. And so how are you winning? You're winning when you say our ROI that we are achieving as a team, as a function of this business, has no cost to the business. Because at a certain point, the amount of licensing, the amount of understanding of what's going on, the maintenance, how much you're paying your teams, all of that eventually is going to meet where the ROI is, and it's going to be a sunk cost. There's no cost. So an automation team eventually becomes a free team. They're just going to get you money. So, like, why not go that route? Why not go, like, no business ever has a team that says, hey, we make more money than we get in. The only people that can do that is probably like the sales guys, right? You have your sales team say, we bring in the money. This is why, we're paid whatever. But in general, no technology, no business integrator team can come in and say, we don't cost the company anything. At a certain point, you hit that median, and then boom, you're now making the company money. And that is the simple way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm fully aligned with that, and I think this overall challenge of being able to correctly manage this digital workforce, this set of technologies that are starting to do stuff on our behalf, right? That the management here has to be under control, because again, in very simple terms, if this is costing more than what it brings, then you have a problem, right? And costing more by, looking at the whole TCO of whatever you are deploying, from licenses to support efforts to a number of other things that could happen if the bot does not behave as expected. So all of that has to be well under control, so you can keep scaling, you can keep adding, you can keep relying on this, and you can sleep at night, right? Because again, once you have a business critical process that is entirely automated, you don't want the technology to go down, right? So having it under control, seeing it, managing it, optimizing it is going to be one of the key, I think, challenge for the future, right? As that footprint grows.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a good amount of information there to know when it goes down and whatnot. But again, you have to have the right partners. You have to have the right items and technology in play that can drive to that success. Because again, if you're doing automation and you have maintenance issues and you have 10 to 20 or even 5 people doing maintenance, those are costs. But if you can't rationalize and you can't build the analytics around like why, or do predictive analytics to say, well, what could come up again, or triage that and find out what's going on. I mean, if you have things getting into production and they are not being mitigated, but people are seeing, like if your employees and your people that you're enabling, if they're seeing these faults, if they're seeing these maintenance issues, you're losing that trust. And if an automation team loses the trust of the people, they're kind of done, because you don't want to lose that. Because as soon as people start to not trust the automation teams, when that automation team goes into and says, "Hey, how much time do you spend on this? Like, is there a win here if we automate some of this and help you out?" They're not going to tell you. It's up to them to help you understand. It's up to working with those SMEs, those subject matter experts, those domain experts to know where is the value. And if you can't have that conversation because they don't trust you, you've already lost, because you've lost that employee engagement. You've lost that ability to build that trust. And so that's where, if you go straight to Gen AI and expect it's going to answer all these things, you're going to have all of this mess, not have any way to analyze this, build it in, understand it. But if you use what's already currently out there, you're going to have a lot more information and be able to drive the value and really understand it.
Yeah, fully aligned.